Hi, I'm Jay. I'm esthetician for Purp Beauty Skin, and today I'm here with my beautiful model Sarah, and we will be doing a rosacea and massage based facial. So we'll be focusing on a lot of the major muscles that are in the face. We'll be working a little bit on the pecs for our lymphatic drainage. We'll be working on the platysmal muscle, the orbicularis oculi, which is around the eye, the orbicularis oris, which is around the mouth, some zygomatic muscles, temporalis muscles, and of course the frontalis and the corrugators. And so this is Sarah again. She has a little bit of rosacea, but even though she has rosacea, we're still going to be using a little bit of a breeze of steam. Let's do it. So to start, I'm going to use a little bit of a creamy cleanser. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to use an oil-based cleanser because I'm going to start off with a very nice elongated massage with a little bit of lymphatic drainage before I cut on my steam, because we want to do minimum steam because we don't want to cause too much inflammation or irritation in Sarah's skin. So I'm going to use my deep cleansing oil, and I'm going to apply it just to her décolleté so that I don't have to worry about placing anything for a slip there. And I'm not going to start out with any specific way of applying this oil. I'm really just kind of like warming her up to my touch and spreading the oil everywhere that I will need slip. So a lot of times I feel like the client will be laying flat. My clients don't like to lay flat, so Sarah is on a pillow, so it kind of stops me from going all the way back to her traps. But it's okay because there's no lymph nodes back there. So I really just need to focus on clearing the lymph nodes here in her chest. And I like to work a little bit down here on the arms, just because there are lymph nodes underneath the underarms, so I can kind of like stimulate her there. And then I can start working towards her ears and opening up the lymph nodes there to make sure that all this massage is not for nothing. Because if the lymph nodes are not clear, then we'll just be moving all of the stagnant fluids and lymph around. But I will say with lymphatic drainage, so with my massage for my clients, I like to combine lymphatic drainage and facial sculpting in one. So even though you see me using like pretty harder, more firm pressure, lymphatic drainage does not require that. You can really just lightly touch the client, but when you want to sculpt and lift, you do have to try to really stimulate the muscle to create that muscle memory. Pressure is okay. So a little note and tidbit for the estheticians out there. If you dedicate time and start off your treatments with a really nice massage for your client, not only will they love you because it feels very great, but you will get better results in your treatment because you're moving a lot of stagnant energy and you are creating blood flow, you oxygenizing the skin. And so you don't have to always just rely on the glow that you get from exfoliation or actual products, because it's a lot that you can do with just your hands to heal your client's skin. Okay, so now since she's all kind of loosened up, I'm gonna work with her platysmal muscle a lot, and that muscle is covering here, and it's going up here into the buccinator and the masseter muscle. And I think a lot of times I see when people massaging themselves or professionals, it's kind of like starting here, just underneath the chin, but there's a whole muscle here that has to be worked in order to have that whole like fluid movement. And when you're doing this, even though we're working from the chest, this décolleté area, which is the platysma, all the way up into the chin, we still want to make sure that we paying attention to what happens when we get onto the face. So here's a lot of stagnant energy, a lot of stagnant lymph, and the muscles are just tight. And so you'll notice, obviously, we talk with our mouths, and that is affecting the muscles in the face, which is the masseter, the buccinator, the zygomatic muscles that are here that just allow us to move our mouth and our cheeks. And everything is connected. So here I'll work with the nasalis, and this is the muscle on the side of the nose that you want to work with too when the client is dealing with allergies or congestion or just getting over a cold. And it'll really assist them in the drainage process to detox all of that stagnant lymph. And I know I said I was working on the platysma muscle, but I'm very much working on other parts of the face now, just so that she can feel that my movements are fluid and that every other part of her face is being stimulated as well. So I'm up here around the corrugators and kind of those where you get those 11 lines where you ladies like that Botox. But we don't need that. We just need to stimulate our 11s like this. Make sure that we're not frowning. Sometimes it's hard to not frown, but if you work on it, you can catch yourself. And right here, this is the occipital bone. I'm sorry, this is the occipital bone. Or it's the occipital bone. I don't know yet. But what is this bone called then? I'm tripping. This is the the occipitalis. That's the muscle on the back of your head. That's the occipital bone. This is the orbital bone. I really apologize, but this is the orbital bone here. The occipital bone is the bone right at the back of the head, and above the occipital bone is the occipitalis muscle. So you kind of want to stimulate that too. So they get in like that full body stimulation. And while I'm massaging her, I don't want to forget that I'm working with her lymph. So anytime I get to a place where there are lymph nodes, I'm trying to stimulate those to make sure that I keep the drainage going. We're going to work here on the zygomatic muscles. So when you're working on the muscles, it's nice to drain as you go, but you don't have to. That's where the sculpting comes in. You can just kind of focus on one space at a time if you want. I encourage estheticians or providers, or even when you're doing it at home, to just flow, because naturally the hands will kind of go where they should. And it'll allow you every time to kind of get a custom massage. Go back down and start working with her platysma muscle a little bit more. And then here, the temporalis muscle is present on the skin here, but the muscle is actually here. It's a big muscle. So that's kind of why the head and scalp massage will come into play as well. It's that full stimulation of the temporalis as well as the frontalis muscle, because we need to treat the frontal lobe. There's a lot of thinking going on. So I took off the head wrap because I'm going to work a little bit more in the back of the head. And I'm just kind of moving my fingers and pulling the occipital bone so she get a nice stretch. And I'm kind of working to that occipitalis muscle in the back of her head. So it's not just a scalp massage. It's a muscle massage. No, seriously. It's really full stimulation because everything is connected. Now I'm kind of just going over all of the places that I've already done to make sure that they all got a little bit of TLC. And I have been making sure that as I'm working, I'm always coming back to the drainage points behind the ears, here on the chest. I've been massaging here by the armpits a lot. You may or may not notice that your clients, or you, if you're doing this to yourself, are swallowing, or maybe you have to go to the restroom, but that is just the lymph and the toxins and the fluids that are draining because you have been opening the lymph nodes. And now that I'm reaching the end of my initial massage, I'm going to start trying to emulsify my cleansing oil. And I'm just going to break it down basically. And that's why it's starting to kind of look milky. Because that was an appropriate cleansing oil. If it didn't break down like this, and it didn't start to look milky, that means that it wasn't a cleansing oil formula, it was just an oil. And in my opinion, if you do struggle with acne or rosacea, you should probably use a cleansing oil. But if you have dry skin or more mature skin, it's okay to use a thicker oil because the skin is not going to receive it in the same way that somebody who has congestion or oily skin or rosacea might absorb it. And I'm pulling now her head by the occipital bone. I'm not just pulling her head. And while I'm pulling, I'm also kind of moving my fingers along that muscle, the occipitalis muscle. And now, on the top of her head, there's no muscle. It's still like the frontal lobe here, but it's really just the skeleton at the top. There's nerves there, so it's really nice to stimulate. And as I said before, Sarah has some rosacea, so even though she's super relaxed with this thing, I'm gonna cut it down and we're gonna just enjoy a nice breeze. And while I'm doing this, I do have pressure here on her frontal lobe so she can feel that stimulation while I'm working on her eyes, her occipital bone, her corrugators, and kind of forcing these muscles here to relax. Since I pretty much broke down that cleansing oil, I'm not gonna worry too much about removing it from her skin, because at this point it's either absorbed or I'm wiping it away on the surface. And my next cleanser will be just a light milky cleanse. So then I can go over her skin with a skin scrubber tool, which helps to exfoliate the surface of the skin, removing the texture, and the nice vibration that it gives is going to vibrate any gunk out of the pores. So I started with a deep cleansing oil, and now I'm going to use a cleansing milk for a cleansing cream. This is a cleansing cream. And I'm not going to use a lot because I don't need a lot. Because I'm not really going to apply this to her décolleté. And I think the key is to remember that even though the facial kind of starts to speed up at this point, there's still certain muscles that we want to work. And that's why the whole facial in itself is sculpting and lifting and firming, because you're never forgetting that pressure. And you're never forgetting those specific muscle groups that you're working with. And even as I'm still massaging her and doing those same movements that I've been doing, I'm feeling a lot less tension in her muscles and her face. This is my ultrasonic, and I'm going to just use it very lightly because Sarah isn't struggling with acne, she's struggling with rosacea. So there's no point of me trying to extract her and cause even more inflammation and harm to her skin. So I'm doing a light sweep over her nose because this will extract anything that's loose, but I really prefer to go in with manual extractions with Q-tips because it just gives you much more precise extractions. It doesn't necessarily hurt less than this. I feel like they feel the same. Okay, so I'm going to remove the remainder of my cleansing milk, but Sarah has experienced a lot of stimulation, and so we're going to ground her before we move on to applying our mask, or before we move on to our extractions and then our mask. And I've decided that I'm not going to actually do an exfoliating mask on Sarah. I'm going to use a nice cocktail of serums to hydrate her, and then I'm going to use a replenishing mask because Sarah is an esthetician and she can exfoliate herself, guys. So we're going to just nourish her and hydrate her. You know what? That's perfect. I want this thing to be off because we're done with that. So I'm gonna get a few Q-tips. Are you gonna cry?
No, the handle extraction is pretty good.
I always know immediately if I'm gonna be able to really do some extractions on my client.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I'm not about to do this. Extractions. just to get what's on the surface, because even though we only did an oil cleanse and a milky cleanse, that still would count as like a pretty deep cleanse. But we just didn't like super degrease her skin. She still has some of her natural oils on the surface. That's lavender. Go ahead, take some big deep breaths there. And you want to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I like to not waste essential oil. So we're just gonna rub it off on her tab or her head, because it's gonna be giving her some nice aromatherapy. May not be super strong like when my hands are over her nose, but she will get some whiffs of lavender. So now, if I was to, like, I want to keep reiterating that we have some rosacea. So if I were to be trying to do like a brightening facial or an acne facial, I would degrease her skin right now with something like an exfoliating toner, witch hazel, any type of exfoliant prep liquid, so I could really degrease her skin, because even though I just deep cleanse her really well, she still has some natural oils on the surface of the skin. But I want to keep that. I don't want to degrease her skin. If I would have degreased her skin, then I would have put an exfoliating mask. It would have really been able to penetrate and go deep. But I want to replenish her at this point. So I am going to take my exfoliating toner, my hydrating treatment toner, and I'm going to put a crazy generous amount on her. I want her to look wet and dewy. And that's just not wet enough for me. So I'm gonna use a little bit of another hydrating toner, which is just a rose mist. And before I move to any other part, I have to hydrate her lips. And so this is a super generous amount, but I'm using it as more of a lip treatment, not just on the lips, but around the lips. Because when I go in with her hydrating mask, well, first her cocktail of hydrating serums and hydrating mask, her lips need to be protected. Because sometimes, even though it's a hydrating treatment product, it can dry out your lips. It's not the same type of skin. So I'm gonna protect her lips with some hydration. This is a really nice sweet cherry lip product. So we are gonna wrap the treatment up. We have right now on the skin a white tea antioxidant mask. I have a little bit of a cold roller, so I'm just gonna kind of massage her skin a little. And it is electric, so the nice vibration is giving her a little bit more stimulation. Feels super good. We'll roll it over her lip. Gonna help her to absorb that moisture she has. And the good thing about using sponges is you also kind of get a little bit of a deep cleanse. So we know, like, yes, we're moving everything down on the skin. Take a piece of ice and take some big deep breaths in. Breathe through this.
It's so cold.
So this water that I'm putting on the skin, I'm gonna pat it up, but it's just going to allow my serums that I use next to penetrate deeper. Actually noticing that there was product under her chin, which is probably the antioxidant mask. I'm gonna hydrate her. A nice little toner. And then I'm gonna use a little bit of a hydrating serum. I can't get it. There you go. I don't advise using your client's hair wrap, but this is my friend, so that's what I did. I'm gonna spread it, and then I'm gonna pat it. So she looks like magnificent. And we did all of that work to the décolleté, this platysma area, so we don't want to forget to treat it with some product. I bring my serum down. Next, since Sarah is going outside, we're gonna apply some sunscreen. The best sunscreen. Black girl sunscreen. And we're gonna put a nice amount. And this absorbs very well, so we kind of just gonna press it into the skin. With sunscreen, you really don't want to rub it in. Kind of want to place it on the skin and kind of let it do its thing. And if it's a good sunscreen, it'll absorb. Right, Sarah, how do you feel?
It was so good.
And that is just me being extra. Last little mist. Sometimes if you put a hydrating toner on top of everything, which I don't recommend it being the only time that you use a toner, but it'll just allow everything to just absorb really nice and then also leave you with a nice little glow. But as you can see, I think I did accomplish what I wanted to accomplish with Sarah's skin. She looks like she's super oxygenized. I did not make her any more inflamed or red. She actually looks calmer, and she just looks very glowy and hydrated. Her nose looks very clear, and she just looks juicy, and I like it.